Hello, it's Monica from Crafting with Quilling Lady, and I hope you have absolutely wonderful day. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to create this super cool vintage looking Lost in Music Father's Day card. I've got a beautiful stamp set collection from Paper Discovery, and this one is called Thank You for the Music Stamp Set 2. Also, that amazing embossing folder called Lost in Music, and the last one stamp set, which is called Music Play on Textures. And I absolutely love this collection, and I thought it would be perfect for today's project. Now I've got beautiful Mysterious Garden design paper collection from Altair Art, and I will leave the links to all the products I use in the description down below. So if you're interested, yes, you can check them out. As you can see, this collection is very vintage looking, and I thought it would work really well with those beautiful instruments designed by Paper Discovery. And I'm going to use that beautiful design paper for my background for the card. As you can see, I trimmed it so it actually fits inside the L card, and we're going to start decorating it using those two stamp set collections. Again, I've got Thank You for the Music and Music Play on Textures, and I thought it would be perfect with some heat embossing, and you will see that I'm actually going to use two beautiful colors just to add a little bit more interest. Whenever you do heat embossing, I suggest you use some anti-static bag and VersaMark ink, which is clear transparent. And as you can see, I stamp quite a lot of times because I want to make sure that I've got really nice impression. And when this is ready, I had a look at my stash, and yes, I couldn't resist, so I thought gold embossing powder would be perfect for this kind of card. It will work very well with that vintage style I'm looking for at this card, and I thought actually those browns and musical instruments will work very well for Father's Day card. And I wonder, have you actually created a Father's Day card with some instruments? Please let me know. If you haven't, maybe this video will inspire you to create one this year. Now I'm going to use anti-static bag on the left hand side, and I'm going to stamp that instrument as well. However, this time I'm not going to use gold embossing powder, I'm going to use black for a little bit of variation on my project, and I'm going to use Cosmic Shimmer Detail Black Embossing Powder. It is perfect for literally any embossing you've got, and I think that black and gold work really well together, especially for that vintage look. Please let me know if you agree. And I actually wonder, how often do you make vintage looking cards? Because I absolutely love this style. Now I use that Lost in Music embossing folder, and I'm going to emboss 300 GSM white stamping card, and I'm not going to use it as a panel. I'm actually going to create some of the elements, and this is amazing with any embossing folders you've got in your stash. You can use them for so many different techniques. Now to add a little bit more color, I'm going to use Distress Oxide inks in tea dye and ground espresso. As you can see, I'm starting with the lightest color first, and using my ink blending tool, I'm just spreading the color around. And what's really good about any ink blending tools, as you can see, on one side I've got lighter color, and on the other one I've got darker. So a big tip for you, you don't really need all the ink blending tools for every single color. You can use two sides for the lighter and the darker, and that will work perfectly fine. Now I'm going to fussy cut some of the instruments, and they will be ready for my project. Simple, isn't it? And I absolutely love that you can actually use all those elements separately. I decided to add a little bit more color on the instruments on the left hand side, so I'm going to use exactly the same Distress Oxide inks in tea dye and ground espresso, and I'm going to use my wet paintbrush to spread the color around. Super quick, easy, and yes, you can use Distress Oxide inks as your paint on your project. So if you have never used that technique, I do encourage you to use it. Now when this is ready, I'm going to clean my glass surface, and I'm going to distress all the edges of my card. I absolutely love it, and I really think it makes a difference, especially with vintage looking cards. Please let me know if you like that trick, or do you just like clean edges. Now I thought why not add a little bit more color to the edges? And again, I'm starting with that lighter color and then darker on top for more interest. And as you probably know me, I love ombre effects. I don't really like block colors, so I just had to use 2 Distress Oxide for, let's say, organic look. And when this is ready, we can start assembling the card together. And I absolutely love the shine from the embossing powders. To add a little bit more interest to my instruments, I thought let's add that ground espresso on the edges on some of the instruments, and this way they will stand out even more. So now I've got my biggest stamp. It is so amazing because you can also create backgrounds with it. And for this one, I decided to use that lighter color of Distress Oxiding. It is very subtle, but if you look at it very closely, it really makes a difference. So we've got all the elements ready, and it is time to assemble the card together. And I've got DL size card base. As you can see, I folded it in half, and to add a little bit more interest and dimension, I'm going to use 2 layers of double-sided foam adhesive. And I do wonder, what is your preferred double-sided foam adhesive? Please let me know, because I would really like to try it. I'm actually considering getting a slightly wider one, but I don't really know where from. So if you have a tip, or if you have your favorite brand, please let me know. As you can see, it is super simple, super easy, and I'm going to add a few drops of liquid glue on top, because just to make sure when the dry adhesive dries even more over time, that liquid glue will hold it forever. And as usual, I've got my magic glue, liquid glue, because it does give me that time to maneuver all those elements. And now that was literally the trickiest part for the whole project. I had to figure out where to put those instruments, and even then later on I changed my mind. I fussy cut that beautiful tag from Mysterious Garden collection, and I'm going to use cutting dies from Paper Crafter. That was in a magazine a few years ago, and I absolutely love that alphabet. So I thought, let's die cut it from gold mirror cut, and it will match that gold embossing powder beautifully. Now it is time for a sentiment, and I use one from Rare Earth, and I use black waterproof ink because it always gives me that nice crisp line. I absolutely love it. As you can see, I still have some space under the sentiment, so I thought, let's add a little bit more interest and detail. So I thought, yes, let's use one of the stamps we already used because it has those beautiful music notes at the top, and I thought, yes, just use that bit and it will match really beautifully with the whole project. I just couldn't resist, and again I'm going to use gold embossing powder to sprinkle it and heat set it with my heat tool. And whenever you do heat embossing, especially with small objects, you can use tweezers if you want, just not to burn your fingers. Now I'm still figuring out where to put all those instruments, and it is time to make a hole through that beautiful tag. And I found some gold ribbon in my stash, so I thought it will work really well with that gold embossing powder and gold letters that we use for the word dad. When this is ready, I thought, let's give it a little bit more dimension, so I'm going to use some double-sided foam adhesive for extra interest. And if your ribbon is too long, you can always cut the excess off, and it will really make a difference, especially if you want your project to look professional. Now, when all those bits are ready, I thought if we have some double-sided foam adhesive on the tag, why not add a little bit more on the instruments as well? And I did it off camera, and then later on we are going to add a few drops of liquid glue and it will be perfect. everything will match beautifully. And at this point I was thinking, should I add some gold gems? But then I thought, no, this project will be with no gems because it is so beautiful already and I don't have to add them. The gold embossing powder and gold mirror card on the wet dot work really well. Let me know, what do you think about this project? If I inspire you to create a vintage looking style for Father's Day. Have a wonderful day and happy crafting, and don't forget to like this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. See you in my next video. Bye!